Hey everyone, welcome back to Star Dynasties. I'm DisturbingPuppet. So we're going to do kind of a bit of a state of the empire. We're going to check on how things are going just overall as far as succession goes, military status, winning the game. Then we're going to take a look at the empire, go over some stuff that's happened recently, and then we'll play a little bit. So just kind of an update on kind of the campaign. Definitely interesting in this one. So I am playing with the DLC stuff, which unlocks some additional things like the bloodline, which is really cool, some additional events and things. So, Vlad is still in charge of the Dracul Dominion. Vlad is now 57, although he's looking pretty rough. So, Vlad is a very good ruler. So, overall, what you want in a good ruler? Overall, pretty generally good stats. You don't want to be really, really good in one thing, terrible in other stuff. So, that is a very positive stuff because your base stats for your empire are based off your ruler. Then you have your counselors who are, specifically to administration, military, your diplomacy, your security, and your technology. We'll look at that in a second. So overall, yeah, Vlad is a very, very good ruler, and I'm hoping that he's going to stay in power a long time because my heir kind of sucks. So we'll look at that in a minute. You can sort of disinherit people or change your inheritance rules, but it does kind of create some chaos. I need to check and see who my grandchildren, who would be the next in line. So Vlad is honorable. He is intelligent, satisfied, dull, which gives us some admin and tech bonuses. We have algorithmic maestro, so some extra technology. There's a bunch of other things, so knowing some different tactics. Guardian of someone with the Archon of the Dracul Dominion. We are in love with someone who's half, actually less than half our age probably, and we're not pursuing that, so he's not really happy. He is the rightful Baron, credible Duke, all that good stuff. So this is our capital here in O'Cool. So yeah, as you can see, overall, pretty good stats. Let's take a look at my heir. So this is my heir, the Neville Dracul. So what's the problem with Neville? Well, admin is okay, tech is okay, other stats are pretty crap. Diplomacy was 0 for a long time, and it's actually because he has a bunch of these specific traits that make him have some negatives. So I've actually been training him in diplomacy pretty much since he came of age, and we only now have positive stats, because at one point he was negative 15, even though it showed 0. So in order to overcome that, I had to train him for so long, and you're best case scenario, a year, a turn of training is, I'm not sure how many years a turn is, it's half a year or a quarter of a year, something like that. And he was getting at best 0.7 stat increase per year while being trained. That's kind of your best stats. For training people, it's really based on technology score mostly. It's not really that given specific stat that improves it. So Neville is my heir, but he's not very good. He's also cruel, fickle. Of course, he's dull. Nothing else too crazy. I am training him. So yeah, we're actually at 0.9 now. And that's because of some bonuses we have going on with some technology stuff, and I'm also working on his admin. So admin helps us get cash. That's generally quite useful. Also helps build stuff. The military helps us raise a larger military and just military effectiveness. Diplomacy is how much people like us. That's our own people, but also other rulers. So Neville is very unlikable, basically, whereas Vlad is very likable. So that is a whole other problem we'll have to deal with. If he takes over, a lot of my systems might not like that change. Security, just kind of how good we are at keeping our own secrets, getting everyone else's secrets, and technology helps us as far as health of people, recovering from illnesses, but also kind of tracking towards events, which is this bar over here, so expedition points. So you want to kind of trigger these as much as possible. So, yeah, if I was going to look, who is... So Lena is 18, so she would probably be the next heir. So she's the oldest. She's sick at the moment. Lena, what are your stats like? Okay. She's a little better because she's so young, so she'll have a lot of room to improve. You do improve your skills over time. She is sick. We might want to get somebody on that. Actually, let's do that right now. Let's assign somebody to start trying to give her some medical attention. Is there anybody free? Yeah, let's have her grandma basically working on it. Oh, Vlad is a great-grandfather at this point, by the way. So, yeah, a 57-year-old great-grandfather. Pretty crazy. So, the Empire. So let's take a look here. So the Dracul Dominion, the territory I directly hold, is this right here, all of this. And then inside of our larger structure, if we zoom out, it's all of this and all of this. So up here we have, if we can get the right zoom, so the Lawrence Confederation is under me, the Gates Union, the King Clan, Keith Alliance, McGrath Union, and down here this is the Bates Clan. They also hold all this up here. And then up here we have the Benjamin Guild. So we've expanded quite a bit. There was another group here. The Acosta territories had kind of an alliance through here that completely fell apart when their new leader took charge. And that's something I actually want to check. Are you in charge? No. I wonder what happened. The guy that was in charge of the Acosta territories. Is not in charge anymore. I wonder if he's in my empire somewhere, because I took over a bunch of territory. We'll get into that in a minute, kind of what happened. Things sort of fell apart. We might be able to absorb some of these guys, so they're not independent, they're independent, and the Yang sector down here is now independent, so we might want to try to make a push for grabbing them. But what I want to do real quick, let's take a look. My Justice tab. Asked to deliver justice. So this is against some of my own people. Yeah, I mean, I could do some of this. So you're there. What's your opinion of me? She likes me a lot, so we could go ahead and do something about this. People typically, well, if they have a complaint against someone, they're going to expect you to deal with it. So that's kind of what this is. If I don't resolve it, people will get mad. So this would be against the guy up there. He also likes me, so yeah, we should probably deal with all of these, because even if we find them, they're not going to be that angry. This actually cost me nothing to resolve. So let's take a look here. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, so the number of swords there is sort of like how pissed off the person is about the offense. And if I don't do anything about it, that's how pissed off they'll be at me. So a fine resolves 1, large fine is 2. Deposing someone goes a bit higher, but in this case it's only 2, so it's showing 2. Let's give you a large fine. You like me, so that's fine. That'll take care of that problem. If I don't do it, I'm just going to irritate my other people inside my dominion. So let's take care of this. These are both against the same person. So if we do a large fine, that takes care of both. Let's do that. So sort of equally making people angry. Can't do anything about that. What I was curious about, there were 2 things. Can't do anything. So this is the crimes I've committed down here. Nothing too crazy. So there was something that's connected to the research events that I was expecting to be there but wasn't, so I'm gonna have to try to track that down here in a minute once we get to it. I'll do kind of a quick recap on what's been going on, and then we'll kind of look at that. So I've had the Lawrence Confederation and the Gates Union in the Empire for a while. They were sort of an early grab. This territory here and all of this were all in one alliance before, all along with the Keith Clan, Keith Alliance and the King Clan. And then they sort of fell apart, and the Acosta territories sort of took over that area. I had a claim down here on Edisich, so I was sort of sitting on that for a while. There was an older ruler here in charge, and I got to the point where I was about to kind of look at, like, yeah, I should probably do something about that. And he suddenly flipped, and in exchange for some cash, swapped over to the Acosta alliance that was down here. So that kind of made things a bit difficult. After he died, then things sort of changed up. But the first thing that I did as far as movement, when we had the Gates Union and the Lawrence Confederation, the Benjamin Guild up here were part of the Atkinson Coalition. So the Atkinsons came to me and wanted to marry my daughter into their royal family, not directly in the line of succession, but into the royal family. And what I asked for in exchange was governorship of the Benjamin Guild. So they would just hand the Benjamin Guild over to me. They did that. Unfortunately, about 2 turns later, because the ruler of the Benjamin Guild didn't like me, which is this lady's, the ruler's father, he immediately swapped back to the Atkinson Coalition, which meant there wasn't much I could do. So I went to the ruler of the Atkinson Coalition and I said, hey, give them back, like make them come back. And he said, nah, not going to do it. So at that point, I have two options. I can either demand, so I was just asking, I can demand the Atkinson Coalition turn them over. If they don't, I go to war with the entire coalition, which at the time was them plus these guys and most of this as well. So that was, not necessarily a great idea. The only real way they could access me at the time was really through Aldib here. I didn't have any of this other territory. We just there's no star lane connections, so it was really just kind of up here. So instead, I went to the Benjamin Guild and I said, because you can do this in the game instead of fighting the whole alliance, you got a beef with this smaller polity, so hey, you need to surrender to me. So I asked first, because I'm typically trying to be nice. So I asked first, like, hey, please come back in to join our alliance again. No, that's the response. So I start planning defenses on Aldib. I start building up my military. I'm planning, which is an action you can do, is planning an attack on Neckar. And thankfully, Neckar is their capital, so it's essentially a direct line for me to get to. So it makes it a little easier. The unfortunate thing is, in this game, the further away you are from your capital, the less military might you're actually able to spread. So here on Okul, my fleet is currently sitting at 340 ships out of a maximum of 390. But the further I get away, the fewer of those ships can actually make it into an engagement. Which means if you're fighting at a distance, you're relying pretty much entirely on your vassals, whether they have an alliance or just individual dukes of planets. So I also spent some cash and got some mercenaries together for the attack once the plan was ready. So I have everybody ready. I have a mighty fleet. It's going to go in on Neckar. So the ruler of Neckar, this lady's father, then says, okay, please don't attack me. So I say, okay, I won't attack you if you surrender. So he surrenders, turns everything back over to me. So there's no fight. All military is kept alive and everything. So I start doing some stuff to try to be nice to him. I start trying to improve relations with him. I think I even started building something for him on one of his colony worlds. And about 2 turns later, he just immediately flipped back over and went back to the Atkinson Guild. So at that point, I was pretty frustrated because I'd spent a huge amount of cash. It'd take me a long time to kind of build up the money to do that. So then I started planning again. So I start planning an attack. I'm, building up my defenses, building up my fleet again. I'm trying to build up my cash. Once I get enough cash, about the point I'm about to attack, the guy dies. So his daughter takes over. So I give her the opportunity. I said, hey, please join our union. She says no. So you can look when you ask that stuff, and it'll say, like, they might agree if you ask politely. They will agree if you threaten. It'll tell you that kind of stuff. So it was sort of a maybe if I asked. So she said no. So I built up the fleet again, planned the attack. I launched the attack probably just a few years after she had taken power. And so it's really not that long ago at this point. How old are you now? 44. So actually, it's probably about 10 years ago in game time at this point. So I launched the attack. Same thing happens. She's like, please don't attack us. She'll surrender the entire union to me. So I like, okay, if it was the guy still in charge, I would say no and just destroy the planet and take the whole thing over. But because it was her, I'll give her a shot. So she surrendered, and she's been loyal ever since. She was unhappy at first, but I have people up here even like trying to improve my relations with her and stuff. And as you can kind of see, that green bar down below, that's how much she likes me. So she's maxed out. So she loves me. I've been totally loyal. I haven't done anything wrong to her. I've helped her out. I've improved relations, all that kind of stuff. So they've been a pretty solid addition. They also picked up Bunda here themselves, which was kind of nice from this other alliance. Now, I do have a claim on Desheba because of an event, but that's pretty far away and probably not going to come to anything. And that's my own personal Dominion's claim, not the Dominion as a whole. So that is something we can kind of look at in the future. You can kind of see there's no connections here. So these guys are actually pretty closely aligned to me. This family, like my daughter, is part of the Atkinson family. She was even on their council. And they're sort of a larger alliance that's really spread down here recently. Okay, so what happened later? Well, so we had that guy that was in charge of, I can't even remember, it was like the Nixon clan or something was here. There was a Nixon alliance that was sort of this whole area and then these guys. So the father dies, and then a whole bunch of shenanigans ensue, and they so they joined this alliance here with the Acostas and split because they actually have territory up here. So they broke away from the Atkinsons, but I still had a claim down on Edisich. So I'm building up stuff, and I'm looking at like, yeah, I want to take that out eventually. So what I do, build up forces. It's closer to my capital. I've got a lot more ability to project force down here. I build up an army. I send it in. Same thing. They're like, hey, please don't attack us. We'll surrender. Well, they don't say we'll surrender. There's a chance my counteroffer is, submit, and they agree. So they become part of my empire. So part of that is because the ruler who took over the Acosta territory shortly before that murdered somebody, and like everyone was super pissed off at him inside his own alliance. He was caught murdering somebody, so it was like you can murder people and have people assassinated. If you get caught or someone reveals the secret, it kind of causes issues. So that kind of went a little crazy. And then after I did that, the Keith Alliance came to me and was like, hey, we want to join your empire. Well, okay. So they joined my empire. Then this territory, the King Clan, it was actually something else before. So their ruler said, like, hey, will you mentor my kid? So that's something you can do is have your children sent off to other rulers to be mentored. And they were offering, like, there's a chance that they might surrender to me if I do it. And I'm like, okay. And then they did. So they joined. So then I was looking at the remnants here were the McGrath Union, and then the rest of the Acosta territories were these. So I was getting ready because Castra was the capital of the Acosta territories. So I was looking at getting ready to attack Alpha Ceti so I could move in. And then this noble here, she just like, hey, I want to join your empire too. I'm like, okay. So she joined my empire. So everything just totally fell apart for these guys. And then she attacked Castra herself. I gave her some support. So she took it over. So that was it for them. They broke up. So these other sections are now like two separate little dominions. So we do have a decent amount of cash. I'm at the maximum for vassals, but we could minimize that by giving some planets to people. And I've got some action points left because we haven't done too much yet. We have a whole bunch of stuff going on. Maintaining things we've already started don't cost me action points, so that's kind of going along. As far as people who are unmarried, we've got my old admiral here, who I kind of feel like it's pointless to marry off. And then we have my nephew, Bram Dracul, who I've tried to marry off a couple times. People keep saying no when I've tried to make agreements to get him married. Because I want to keep him in the family because he's generally decent, and there's very few options because he's not in the direct line of succession or anything. So what we want to do probably to expand further is these new independent factions. We probably want to bring them in and then maybe hand off the territory, like maybe to the McGrath Union. Um, the Keith Alliance does have a claim on the King clan, and eventually I probably would want to have them do that, and I can actually support their claim and give them military support to do that. They might naturally do it anyway. Like if I just leave it alone, these guys, my own vassals, can fight each other over territory, and these guys do have a claim, so they might do it anyway. They do raid each other quite a bit too, which is kind of irritating because they'll actually like destroy colonies. Z Puppus here actually was a colony that got destroyed, and then I had to spend a huge amount of cash to resettle it. I do have a ton of cash at the moment, which I do have some things we'd like to build up. But the territory I would most like to grab is part of what used to be the Nixons, which is down here, which is the Yang sector. So let's take a look. You do kind of like me. So there's a chance you're mostly built up. That's something, and most of the planets in my territories are built up. My capital's completely built up, everything's built. So I could request, you might accept if I request your vassalage. So that's something we could try. So that's a might accept. Let me take a look at these two little polities over here. So we have the Martinez Dominion, this little tiny group here. So you Will accept if threatened. I don't really want to threaten because then it kind of leads us into a war. I would rather have you accept, so it's a may accept, and then the Acosta's out here. Probably the same. Will accept if asked politely. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do that then. So Clint, please join. He's an independent, so now he's joined. He's become my vassal. Easy peasy. We're now over our maximum. So what does that mean? Basically, it just means we have some extra costs, and I have some less actions, essentially. That's about it. Nothing too nuts. So, something else I want to look at here before we do advance the turn timer. So that's kind of, I don't have enough actions to then ask these guys or ask them. What I would probably like would be for them to get absorbed into the McGrath Union. And we can probably make that happen later. I think that makes sense. So there are xenomorphs in this game. So part of the tech events. So I had a while back, one of my characters who was off doing something somewhere, I think it was like working on improving relations with somebody, had a xenomorph in them. So they had like a parasite creature inside of them, and they came back because they were sick. They came back to the capital with it because they wanted to get help. So, okay, I had some options of what to do. So I had them try to remove it, and they were able to successfully remove it without killing her. And that character, though, is sickly now for the rest of their life. So it means they're more likely to get sick, that kind of thing. So we studied the alien for a while before vivisecting it and got some research. So we have a bit of a research bonus. We might still have it, I'm not sure. It was sort of, some research bonuses and things are timed. You can kind of see some of the stuff in the Dominion, these things. Some of these are timed. We'll go over those in just a second, too, if I remember. So then there was an option later of, like, what do you want to do with the knowledge about these xenomorph alien things, chestburster creatures? So I shared it with everybody. Like, hey, everybody, there's this xeno alien threat out there that we need to be concerned about. And nobody cared. That was kind of the response was, you're nuts. So just recently, just this past turn, a ship full of eggs showed up in my capital system, and I was able to storm it, board it, and then find out where it came from. And it came from somewhere down over here in this alliance, the Murphy planets, which is odd because I have a lot of relatives in the Murphy planets, and I think the guy who did it is even a relative. I think it was this guy. I'm pretty sure it was this guy. I don't know if there's a way for me to check. And it's weird because he doesn't dislike me. Yeah, so reveal he's been performing alien experiments. So I can do that very quickly. I can't ask him about it or do anything about it. I can just reveal it because he sent a ship full of eggs to my home planet, which is nuts. Like, I feel like that's an act of war. The crazy thing is he's my brother-in-law. So I guess he's my wife's brother, I think. Sometimes the relations can get weird because especially if you have like one person you're married to dies and you remarry later, it can get really weird. So there's no negative political consequences it look like, but it's really going to piss him off if I reveal it. So that's those kind of broken, it's like breaking alliance kind of stuff. So I could reveal it. I'm curious, as we're going to have another one fairly soon, if anything else is going to happen. I might just wait to reveal it. I kind of thought I might have something under my justice tab for like a crime, and that I could have like demand something from him as a result. I don't know if it's even under secrets. It should be. So this is all the secrets that I know, and secrets that I have. So where is it? And sometimes when people are grayed out, it just means they're dead, so it's kind of pointless. There's so many over time. It's odd that I didn't see it at the top. So it must be down the other way. So Thaddeus Woodward has been performing alien experiments. Okay. Yeah, so there's all kinds of weird things too, like so that ruler up there is trying to seduce somebody else. Yeah, very weird. I can't do anything about it. There's no claims or anything. So a little weird. So we'll take a look at here really quick before we end the overall status of the Dracul Dominion. So We have the Interstellar Authority Corps because I had somebody who, from the very, very long time ago, was cryogenically frozen. We found them, we woke them up. They were still part of my empire and part of my family, and they formed a special corps inside of our unit faction that gives me some bonuses because we're just very well trained. Then we have Ruthless Heritage, so this is going to last 17 more turns, extra fleet strength, and plan attack effectiveness. We have a general AI, so we woke up an AI that now is essentially a full citizen of the Empire that's given me some general bonuses across the board, and that's forever. We have some AI diplomacy training that's given me some more diplomacy for a few more turns. And we have some pre-collapse surveillance equipment, so we're much better at running spy networks elsewhere. Not a huge amount better, 10% better. So our stats here are based on Vlad's stats plus whoever my counselor is for that position, plus all these bonuses and things. So we can kind of look at that here. So admin, we're running over 200, which anything over 200 is really good. So that's a bunch of extra cash coming in, vassal tax income, and gives us more vassals that we can have under our control. For the military, it's military strength and fleet strength. For diplomacy, it's kind of how much people like us. So public opinion of the head and house members. Security is keeping secrets, but also discovering secrets. And how happy your counselors are also impacts. You can kind of see there's a negative here because she's slightly unhappy. And then we have my heir, who's not the best at tech, but I kind of, because he's my heir, have to give him a job somewhere, is in here. And he's not bad at tech, but he's not the best. I think I've got somebody with 70-some stats. So we're getting some extra points for the expedition, so there's events. We have some skill increase, so we're getting more and more skills. We have a less chance of people getting sick, so it's less than 1% chance of people getting sick. Increased chance of people healing, less chance of bad childbirth, and then increasing vassals. So for vassals, it's admin and tech training, kind of based on tech and stuff. So at the moment, what am I doing? I'm repairing a grain silo. I'm quelling unrest, various different places that were sort of bad. This is kind of the relevant skill involved. Occasionally you'll want to shift stuff around, see what people are doing. I'm working on improving relations with a whole bunch of people across the entire area. I have one spy network on Nakar, which is up here. I did have one elsewhere that I shut down. I had a spy network here, but now that we've got control of this, we don't really need it. We're working on giving some medical attention. We're doing some training on my heir, and then my heir is training me a little bit. I've got some people who aren't doing anything, all of whom are mainly diplomats, it looks like. Yeah, Lena's 6. I don't really want to send her on a mission, so we could send somebody out to improve relations somewhere else. So is there anybody else we want to improve relations? Maybe the Yang sector, if we want to try to ask them to join. Relations are pretty good at the moment. So let's improve relations. And let's send off my nephew Bram to go do that. Even if it's only one turn before we ask her to join, it's going to increase the chances of that being effective. Alright, what happened? Edisich. Somebody find somebody else. Okay, sure. Marak. Someone attempted... So she revealed that someone attempted to murder her. Okay, that's interesting. That person is now dead, so she probably took care of that herself. Great. Kasora, flare-up of dissent. Elo MacDonald fled. Charged Admiral King with avenging the crime. So he fled over to the King area, it looks like, and then she asked him to deal with it. Alright. How is unrest is 64? That's not great, but it's not dangerous. It was much worse down here. It's now down to 64. This was in the 80s or something, 70s or 80s. Kasora, so Duchess McGrath deposed the local baron, and someone had a stillbirth. Anything else in my empire? Oh, let's take a look up here on Arai. Feast was held to celebrate a marriage. The Archon granted permission to my son-in-law and your daughter to have another child. Alright, so I think I have at least one grandchild in this family. We'll have at least another one soon. Lutons. The local duke married somebody. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, so let's take a look at the overall. So how do I win this game? So I'm currently at 36 systems. Actually 37 now that we grabbed those. In order to win, I have to have control of 58 systems out of 115. So that's, I think, just over half. We're getting there. If I can absorb the Yang sector, the Martinez Dominion, I don't really want to end up fighting the Atkinsons because I'm kind of related to them, but if something crazy happens and they break apart, that's an option. We could also just try to eat like one of their subsidiary factions because we do have good enough relations that maybe they'd let me get away with it or just fight without getting involved. Because if you're fighting a war against one of the subsectors, the larger group may not actually get involved. They might just leave it. I don't know how big some of these other groups are because I haven't really spied on them or had contact with them. So if I can get the Yang sector to join, maybe we could try to get going after these guys down here. Kind of looking at where the star lanes connect. We could also start moving in here, but I have a lot of relatives in this area. It typically doesn't like it when you fight your relatives, so that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I mean, he did just send a ship full of eggs in my direction, which I'm not super happy about. And I can't really do anything about it. So the ruler of the Murphy planets overall is not related to me. I don't know who's running the Carlson Union, and I am related to some people in the Compton Alliance, but not the ruling family. So it might only be this local planet. I thought I had other relatives, but they might be just kind of mixed in. And if things are kind of confusing about family stuff, you can look at family trees and stuff. So I think I have to go here. So I can look at an actual family tree if I want, but some of these will get really complicated. And I've had some that just don't load because they're just too complicated. So yeah, here I am. Son-in-law's mother. Interesting. I don't remember being married to her. I think I've only been married to Mallory, right? That's weird. It shows like a connection there. Yeah, so I must have been married at some point to her. I don't remember. Maybe early on, and then she died young or something, and then I remarried. So I only have son-in-law's sister. That's my son-in-law's brother. Son-in-law. Might only be here because of the son-in-law connection. So I only have two daughters. So she's part of the Atkinson Coalition, and then we've got Neville. Neville has been married to Celeste for quite a while now, and they have three kids. So there is Bella, who's still quite young, Lucy, who's quite young, and then the only one who's come of age so far is Lena. She married a commoner, which was a big scandal. That was very recently, and then so I have one kid, grandkid, yeah, great-grandchild. Kind of crazy. All right. So we have some things down here to show you, like people who aren't doing anything, but I'm out of action points anyway. People aren't married if we want to do that. I have too many direct vassals. That's fine. That'll hopefully work its way out. We could do something about that. I could give 61 Ursa Majoris to the Lawrence Confederation. They've asked for it a few times. I could also give Aldib to the Benjamin Guild. The problem is if I don't have direct access up here, if they go rogue, I can't really do much about it if I don't control these planets. And then it leaves Decrux kind of out in a weird spot, which means either one of them is just going to want Decrux as well. Here, so my capital's here, so I have quite a few planets in the general vicinity, so just one jump away. Mirak is the only one I don't. That's the capital of the Gates Union. Edisich is giving me access down here, so I don't really want to mess with that or piss off the Bates clan too much, honestly. This would be nice if these guys would just get absorbed by the Keith Alliance, and these guys getting absorbed by the McGrath Union. That's probably my best option for getting rid of too many vassals at the moment. All right, let's hit end turn and see what happens. All kinds of crazy stuff, even things that don't really matter too much to me, will trigger. All kinds of events and things that I'm aware of, my family's involved in, that kind of stuff will go. Okay, so Ena McGrath is charging Archon Dune McGrath with avenging my crimes, which is the annexation of the Keith Alliance, the King Clan, and the Bolton systems. So she's really not happy about that. Why are you charging him with that? She was part of the alliance that was here before, but she joined voluntarily, so it's kind of weird. So she's asking him to do it. I don't know why she has the right to ask him to do it. He's probably going to refuse, but it's kind of odd that she has the right to ask him about it. So she's also asking me with avenging Soto Martinez's crime, the rebellion against Tally Acosta. So that was the guy that was in charge. He's still alive somewhere, which is odd. I can't do anything to him. So I actually had something at one point to deal with him because of the murder that he committed. So you're being asked to deliver justice for her crime of rebelling. I don't know why she cares, because she's left that union. I guess it's just a way to get some influence, maybe. So I could ignore it, and it's just going to make her more angry at me, which isn't that big of a deal. It's only one. I could deal with it right away, and the most common thing to deal with would just be to fine her a little bit, but that would make her angry for being fined. I'm just going to ignore it. It's not that big of a deal. She likes me anyway, so it's not a huge deal. So Baroness Xenia Chen gives submission to that Duke in exchange for 280 space bucks. So that's something, having cash opens up a lot of potential options. Oh, Tacita died. If you have a lot of cash when you offer things to people, there's a chance that they'll give you a counter offer of like paying cash for something. So Tacita died. She was on my council, I think. Yeah, she was my head of security. She was also running my spy operation. Oh, and my wife died at the same time. She was the head of administration. You can see her admin stat at being 99. So the council's getting a big hit here. That also ends because they both were like guardians of people. So the Duke there gave Glies 754 to the Acosta territories. Huh. Okay. So the guy who was in charge of Glies 754, well, he still is locally in charge. He just swapped from being part of the Atkinson over to the Acostas. Huh. Didn't exchange any money or anything. That's kind of weird. Oh, and my admiral died, so the head of my military also died. What the heck is going on? Just people getting older. Like, he was in his 60s. It seems like in this game, once you get into your 60s, you're going to die any day, pretty much. Even with the advanced technology and stuff we have. So he was also the leader of a group of House Dracul loyalists who were found in an underground bunker on Dushuba, which is why I have a claim on Dushuba, because they've been there for like hundreds of years in an underground bunker. We found him, made contact with him, and got him to come out, and then he eventually became my admiral. His cousin, Noosa Price, rises. So her stats are okay. She looks like she's a dunce. I cannot replace such a warrior, but I vow to lead this band and guide House Dracul in the ways of blood and seizure. So they're like a super militant faction within my empire, and within House Dracul itself, because of just the way they were raised on stories about House Dracul being warriors. So we have some visitors. Okay. And this is, actually, you can see my happiness has gone in the tank because some people have died. And because we filled up this, so that's what this is, We were out on maneuvers, Duchess Zareli Benjamin reports, when we discerned a large object on our sensors. We did not realize just how large. The visual feed switches to a ship, one larger than you've ever flown in. It might be pre-collapsed, but you had no idea they built ships this size. As you know, quips Duchess Zareli Benjamin, I am entitled to half its value, as the discoverer, but I would prefer to study the entire ship. So I have some options. So I can give her 30 credits and take the ship myself. She'll have to give me some, but she gets some tech for a while. Or I can just give it to her, which improves her view of me, but she already likes me. So yeah, let's just buy it. Your technical team survey the vessel. Their report when it comes is hushed. This was a floating city as large as 10 frigates, though it's curiously light on weaponry. Further study might yield more insights into its function. Your quartermasters suggest that it might, if you're light on funds, scrapping it would net a tidy profit. So if we want money, we get 60 credits. No. Let's spend some actions. So for 20 turns, we'll get plus 10 technology. We might get something else as well. Your team picks the Titan Clean. The ship originally carried fighters and interceptors within its bulk, a floating spaceport. Your technicians report a number of references to the pre-collapsed League of Spacefaring Nations. Insignias, watermarks, the medals of the dead. She must have been a League warship. Carrier, basically. She was wrecked when the sun went nova, explains the lead tech. They tried to outrun it, but even a giant can be felled. We picked her clean, my Archon. What should we do with her? So we can scrap her, or we could live in her. Vessel will be towed to your home system. Once repaired, it can be used as living space. +1 wealth and +1 house size. Yeah, let's do that. The giant stirs. Not by her own efforts. You have your towing fleet to thank for that, but she stirs nonetheless. In a few weeks, you ease her into a stable orbit and welcome families on board. You're unsure how the League would feel to see thousands of common folk camped out against its bulkheads and hashways. If repaired, the living space could house thousands of your people. Running out of medical equipment. At this point, we could barely provide basic medical care to the serfs and servants pledged to House Dracul. We have held a small stock in reserve for ourselves, but that will dwindle eventually. So we could buy some stuff. Or we have some negatives. Yeah, I mean, we've got cash. It does take some action points, though, too. Our medical support is worse than we thought. By holding in reserve some medical equipment for ourselves, we underestimated the scale of the problem. The rank and file of the House Dracul have been left to fend for themselves against the ravages of space sickness, poor nutrition, the anaerobic fleas. So I could have him sort of take over dealing with it, which gives me a chance of handling it. Let's just throw cash at the problem. Adds improved medical equipment trace to us, 10% probability less of people getting hurt or ill, increased chance of being healed. Yeah, let's just go ahead and throw cash at the problem. It is the neglect of timely repair that makes rebuilding necessary. Few houses still have the tools to fabricate new medical equipment, so we should have been repairing what we had with greater care. Now you're having to spend a fortune to procure some more. Not much. We've got money. Okay. So things are kind of rough because we had people die, so that's affected our overall stats. So that's why this has gone into free fall. We have an obligation to punish her. Yeah, I don't care. We have a bloodline upgrade. Okay. So what I might want to do, so these are the points we have, something I didn't go over before. So for our bloodline, I've taken a few things. So we have extra military score. That's just for the house in general, not for individual people. We are better at planning attacks and defenses. We have we're slightly genetically engineered, just a little bit. Less chance of people getting healed or getting ill, and more likely we're going to be intelligent. And then I've got a bonus to our technology. And then here we've got extra wealth generated on any colony that we are ruling. So that's helping us out getting a lot of cash. So I got another point. What I might have to do, because my heir is a complete dunderhead, is go into diplomacy for just 10 bonus diplomacy. So my options are extra skill increase rate of wards. So any kids that we're training. I don't really care. Not a big deal. We've got running spy network is more effective. We've got the diplomacy bonus. We've got an admin bonus. That's not awful either. Ship specialization. So focusing your stratagems around a single ship type, your captains have learned to wield these vessels as fine tools of war. So extra strength when leading a fleet. We can shift fleet composition effectiveness. So something you can do if you have too many of one kind of class of ship, you can change it. I've never even done this action. Hired protection. Your house encourages vassals to pay an extra tax for insurance against piracy. Your piracy contacts are only too happy to help. Randomly get extra credits from assist tax collection action. I'm not currently doing any of those, and I feel like that's sort of not great either. Interesting what you end up with. The final thing is usually something kind of interesting for all these different ones. So here, your house are considered not only political rulers of your system, but its trusted stewards. Plus 20 opinion from heads of minor houses on home system. That's not super useful. Just the houses that are on your home system. Isn't that great? Yeah, not too awesome. So, beloved by the people, your house has cultivated trust and adoration among your people. Your line is adored by commoner, merchant, and craftsman alike. -2 unrest change on our home system. So it just means that if something would increase our unrest, it's just going to not do it as much. What does this max out as? Establish a pretender. Huh. Establishes themselves and your faction as legitimate ruler of a target system, as long as it has over 40 unrest. Interesting. Disciplined house. Your house members understand that you all need to pull together and you must guide the ship. +2 to House Dracul members' opinion of its head. So that's anyone in House Dracul directly has a higher opinion of the leader. I think because of my heir, I kind of have to go for this. Each time we take a point, it increases the cost. I'd kind of like to push it out to the military because at the maximum, like threatening someone might cause them to just surrender. It's much more likely to have someone surrender to us. So I kind of like that. The extra vassal limit here is also nice. But I feel like because of my heir, I kind of need the diplomacy. So we're naturally kind of militaristic, tech-focused, and diplomatic. So that will help us. I do need to put people onto the council because we have kind of a bit of a mess. So yeah, we lost 3 council members all at once, which is absolutely bonkers. So I don't know who we have. Like we went from over 200 in these to less, so that's going to screw things up quite a bit. Who do I have? Who's the best person I have for admin? Only 50. And she's also in her 60s. Not great. That is really not great. I could move my son over because I do have other people better at tech. But 48, I mean, it's not much worse. He's at least younger. He might improve. Yeah, let's swap you over. If your council's full, moving people around is more complicated because you have to like fire them from their post and they get angry about it. So that's pretty important. That's going to be a problem. So now we're at 17 of 14. Tech will help me with vassals as well. Who's my best tech? Neil. You're really good at nothing else. So this is kind of what you want for council member positions. This guy's really, really good at tech and crappy at everything else. That's a counselor if you ever saw one. Someone, as overall ruler, you need someone who's good with everything. So yes, Neil Howe, go ahead and get on the council. Just appointing people is going to take all of my resources, though, for like action points and stuff, which is unfortunate. So that gets us to 15. My military is going to take a big hit if I don't have somebody in here decent. Who's my best military? So my sister-in-law, actually, that we were looking at for admin position. It's good we didn't put her there because she's much better militarily. So yes, throw her in. She's actually best. I think 99 is your maximum. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with 100 or more. So that's good, but she may not be around very long. So my sister-in-law there. We have just enough to appoint somebody to be head of security. And Pia, my nephew's wife, is the best by quite a bit. That's something when you marry people off and have people joining your faction, you might want to look at what stats you have around and what you might need. I picked her up a while ago as a marriage because of a good age match, but also because of the high security stat. So we do that. So now we're not looking too terrible. Admin is bad, though. We're very good on diplomacy. Everyone's going to like us quite a bit, so that worked out. Military should be fine. Let me quickly take a look. My capital, because he died. Is that going to screw up? No, we're still fine. So we're at 362 ships out of 384. So it didn't wreck us too long, but if we had that negative for a while. But we are now 2 over our vassal limit, which is going to reduce points, but also is going to cost me extra cash. I don't have enough people to assign, or enough actions to assign Bella a trainer, which is unfortunate. So Noosa has learned something. Anything else in the Empire? Baroness Utakeith has disinherited Duchess Rosamund Keith. Okay, changing the heir. I really wish you would absorb that. I don't have any actions, so I can't really do much. Baron Myers charged Anna McGrath with avenging Jade Yang's crimes. There is an outbreak of plague here on Glies 754, which might be why they gave Glies to the Acosta territories here. So because my diplomacy is good, everyone should still be fairly happy with me. So yeah, just having a really good reputation and stuff will sometimes cause things like that. Like they gave us Bunda up here just because. So just being wealthy gives you some advantages. Being well-liked gives you a lot of advantages. Being militarily strong gives you some advantages. We're generally kind of an all-around house. We're not like super fantastic at anything, mainly because of Vlad. So we're doing fairly well. So we're now over 200 on tech, which is going to help this stuff. Diplomacy, military, admin having taken about a 40-point drop is pretty bad. There's not a lot I can do about that. Buildings will help with that as well. But it only is your capital system buildings that will do that. Stuff on other planets. So anything on my capital helps my family directly, the Dracul family. But if I build it here on like Z Puppis, unless it says otherwise, it only helps the house in charge of that planet. But you might want to do that because like they need to be strong. If they're far away, you want their military to be strong so you can make use of them, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would really like the Keith Alliance to absorb you. I'd also like to absorb the Yang sector myself. That's going to be even more, which is a bit of a problem. Unfortunately, because I am troubled, it's going to be decreasing the stats as well. Which, if we look, is that shown there? I'm still apparently happy enough that it's not affecting it. It's actually giving me a bonus for being happy, which is weird. But yeah, that's the unfortunate thing of having that certain generation of people just dying off. And yeah, we have 23 family members. We're at a maximum of 32. And partially that's because of buildings we have, the size of our dominion, the money we have, all that kind of stuff. If you go over that, you're going to tick people off. Being over vassal doesn't irritate people. It just sort of causes problems for your actions and money. So actually, how are we doing if we look at our money? So last turn, we had a net income of 51. Expenses was 41.6. Oh, because of inflation. So if you have too much money, it sort of docks you a bit extra. So that's mostly the effect. Too many vassals is only 5.8. That's not that big a deal. But we'll probably, if we have actions, I still have things I can build on Z Puppis. Okul is full, and I could take a look at other systems. Oh, actually, we have a new one. So we have the repurposed warship now. Interesting. +1 wealth, +1 house size. Okay, so we have to actually rebuild that. I thought because of the event we already had it. So yeah, cool. All right, there's not much else I can do. Kind of relying on my vassals maybe to expand a bit. I would really like to get the Yang sector to come in. We are working on improving relations because that's just going to keep ticking away. If I don't change somebody's directive, they're just going to keep doing the same thing. It doesn't cost me any actions. So I'm still improving my relations down here in the Yang sector. Almost to max. And she might want like cash or something, but it should be fine. You can kind of see if we zoom in enough, there's names on some of these planets, and there is something you can get in the bloodline tree that'll let you survey these planets for stuff. But if it's zoomed out and there's no name, it's not like a dead colony that you can rebuild. Only stuff with a visible name at range is stuff you can rebuild. And the only ones I've seen so far were like they started with them, and then like the system was attacked, raided, that kind of thing, and the colony died. As the game progresses, kind of these other connections will appear, which kind of gives you potential alternate paths around. I think that's just there to kind of help you move around if you need it. But so far I haven't seen any that have popped up that are actually ones that I could build a colony on. And if there is one in range, there'll be a tooltip down here kind of telling you. So down here we can kind of see people I know secrets about, claims I have. Keith Alliance claims to be Alnalam. Where is that? So the Keith Alliance wants Alnalam, or at least they have a claim on Alnalam. Where the hell is Alnalam? It's not anywhere near. Alnalam. Where is Alnalam? Alnalam is in the Murphy planets. Am I just looking over it? No, it's there. Okay, I mean, that's sort of reasonable. That's not super far away. So the Keith Alliance has a claim there. And we could actually go to war over that. We could support their claim to take that. That would be a way to kind of increase our reach down south eventually. And the Bates clan wants to be ruler of Ross 218. The Bates clan is spread out. Must be up here. I don't see Ross 218. Yeah, 128 is there. So these guys want to be in control of this as well. They've got a claim. So we could potentially do that, but that might bring us into conflict with the Cheney systems. That would get us closer to Deshubba, which I do have a claim on. So that's an interesting way to advance as well. So we could sort of back their claim and go to them and say, hey, we're going to back these guys' claim to take this. And same down here. That would be something that we can do. It does cost us a bit of actions, so we might want to get our vassals in hand first. But I'm out of actions. Let's go ahead and hit end turn and see what happens. Anything crazy goes on. Electronics factory at Alcura has been repaired. So yeah, the individual guys, the individual families, both on a local level, but also on so the Gates Union or the individual Duke of the planet Pollux could repair something on Pollux. So that kind of thing happens as well. So some things do affect everybody. So like this, increase effectiveness to run spy network to allied rulers within 3 star lanes of this location. So that would affect me. Grain silo on Ensis, so just extra wealth for those guys. Daughter-in-law has come back home. All right, Alejandro Weaver wants support in the combat at Ross 128. So you are the defender. Both of these are taking place inside the Cheney systems, which is part of the Atkinson coalition. He's asking me because, just on the off chance, I would agree. If I agree, it would improve my relations with you. So that's what this is showing. So it's a rebellion against you. We are not on great terms. I don't need to get involved at all. I can ask for something, but I can't ask for his subjugation or anything, which is too bad, because I'd give it a shot. Yeah, there's no reason I have to do it. There's no obligation. It wouldn't piss him off if I don't agree. If you do rebel, it's just going to change the ruler who's in charge, but it'll still be under the Cheney systems and the Wilcox Quadrant, unless you're rebelling against the local ruler. I could improve some relations there, but I might want to push a claim, so yeah, I'm just going to refuse. I don't have any interest necessarily in what's going on. The rebellion failed. Okay, fine. But there was a fight. Oh, we got more stuff here. The technicians have accessed the Titanic ship's data stores. The ship's logs shed some light on how the vessel came to be. The ISS Athena was a joint project between 5 nation-states, which together formed the League of Spacefaring Nations. None could accomplish this alone. They joined forces to construct a carrier not only for mutual defense against their rivals, but to preserve their shared values. If they could band together, perhaps we can too. So we get pleased, and my ruler gets some diplomacy. Or 50% chance to get individualistic. 50% chance we lose honorable. Yeah, I mean, sure, give me some more diplomacy. You can kind of see how your traits can affect that. The galaxy learns of the League's accomplishments. As a result, the ISS Athena has become a byword for cooperation in the face of conflict. So +5 to my diplomacy. Again, you get stuff like this as you go through, which is making him just a better and better ruler. So it's going to be a really shame, like it's going to suck a lot when Vlad goes away. I really need admin, though. That's what I need. At this point, admin is my big problem. Duke Elijah Lawrence wants 61 Ursa Majoris. So again, these are the same. Lawrence Confederation. They keep asking for this occasionally. I could give it to them. It would make them happy. I could just refuse, which will make them slightly unhappy, which I've refused a bunch of times. We could make some kind of an agreement. Marriage between Astrid Lawrence and me. I guess since my wife died, like that's something. Like, why would I do that, though? Be careful about, like, if you click this to see Astrid Lawrence, it's not actually going to show you her. It's going to agree. You're good at tech, but that's about it. You're also old. Yeah, I don't care. Marriage between Astrid and my nephew, 20-year-old and a 65-year-old. No. We could ask for cash. Like I said, it sort of cuts off my access to the northern part if, say, for example, like the Benjamin Guild shifts and decides to join the Atkinsons again. So I don't really want to get rid of it. So I'm going to refuse again. So just a little bit of a shot to our relationship, not too much. Duchess Zareli Benjamin wants Aldib. What will you ask in return? So same kind of thing. If she takes Aldib, though, I still have a way to go after her. And if I take over Aldib, then I can push in. So this is a bit more reasonable. She's already fairly strong, though. You already have 5 systems, so you want Aldib as well, which would be 6. So we could marry a 16-year-old. That's pretty awful. We could marry her off to Bram, but that's not really that big a deal. She doesn't bring much to the table. She's pretty good for being 16 for having that high of a security stat. So she probably is just going to get better and better. We could ask for cash in exchange. That's not awful. If we don't ask for anything, it massively improves our relations, but we're already maxed out. So I could do it for cash. And it would help my vassal situation a little bit. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I'll do it for cash just because we're so messed up with vassals. Like, I have very few actions to do anything. So I'll go ahead and do that. So she's still part of my empire, it's just she's now a very important part of my empire. Probably the most important part of my empire. So Archon Dune McGrath wants control of the McGrath Union. That is... Isn't that somebody down here? Yeah, these guys here. So actually, I didn't even notice. So you're a McGrath, but you're in charge of the Atkinson Coalition, which is odd. So you must be part of the McGrath family. I do not want to do that. We're on good relations. So it would redeem for the annexation of the Benjamin Guild. So it would kind of even things out, but relationship-wise, we're fine. I do not want to give him control of any more territories. Control of the Tapia planets. Where are the Tapia planets? Huh. Interesting. The unfortunate thing was, so I could give him control of these two systems and then gain a bunch, which would get us closer to winning the game. It does cut me off from the two parts of my empire, which we're already kind of cut off, which is weird. But that's going to have two separate little blobs, separate from everything else, because he's going to take these three. In exchange, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're up 3. Interesting. I might do it for the Tapia planets. I'm not concerned about him attacking us. He's related to us. Our relations are good. So I don't mind too much having him sort of interposed here a bit. But once my heir changes, my heir takes over, like it could create a lot of problems. Just because he's going to be much less liked. It's a net 3. Where's the capital here? The leader here does like me. It's about 50% positive. Is anything crazy going on? There's some unrest there. A lot of unrest there. You know what? Because it is going to be positive, I'll go ahead and offer for the Tapia planets. He refused. Okay. And even that, I'm like, yeah, I might do it for that. Just because it's a positive, I'd give him the option. I'm surprised he didn't make another counter of like me giving him some cash for that. So Archon McGrath has invited us to attend a feast for Duke Porter Harrington. Unrelated to me, you're part of my empire. He's in the Bates clan, which used to be part of the Atkinson coalition, which is weird. So why are you throwing a feast for him? Okay, sure, we'll accept. So there's a tournament, usually some fighting that goes on at these, so I can participate myself. There's a risk you get hurt. I haven't seen somebody die outright, but there's a risk you get injured, and then you'd have to like heal up. So it based on the military stats, we've got 61. We could throw our admiral in. I'm kind of tempted to do it myself. If you win, you get some accolades and stuff, which helps you get towards getting those bloodline points. So the more accolades you get, the more famous you are from doing stuff. That feeds into getting those bloodline upgrades. Whereas tech helps you build up the expedition points. I'm going to go ahead and just have Sahara. Let's have her go ahead and do it. She's got 99. So your sister-in-law will champion House Dracul. So first up, Constable Mervyn Christensen. I always just fight normally. You can fight aggressively, which means you're more likely to win, but you also might hurt yourself or hurt the other person. So I always just fight normally. Win. We'll fight Constable Ethan Dyer. Not a great stat. Yeah, that's weird. Sometimes it's really bizarre. Usually higher stats always win out, but occasionally I have these ones where someone much lower ends up winning. So 35 versus 99, he wins. So there's got to be some kind of dice roll or something involved too. The Archon himself was injured during the tournament. Baron Neil Beck won the tournament. Archon consort Zahari Lee also performed admirably. So even if you don't win, but you do well, you can still get some accolades. During the festivities, drunk and disoriented, you find yourself in the slum of the colony. The houses are cobbled together from ship parts, bits of bulkhead, and rusted scrap. You narrowly avoid cutting yourself on a nail. You arrive in a great hall, a disused hangar crammed with huts and lean-tos. You're suddenly aware you stand out in your aristo finery. A group of rough-looking types catch your eye and head towards you. Hey, one calls. Want to have a good time? I'm always up for a good time. A night of debauchery with a bunch of lowlives. Could be dangerous. Yeah, no, we're leaving. You stumble into the banquet hall, disheveled and confused. I got turned around and found myself in the slums. A bunch of rough types found me. They were very nice, helped me find my way home. Was anyone seen my robe or my purse? So we lose some credits. We got robbed a little bit. Not like robbed. Oh, okay. Somebody got murdered at the event. Baroness Morris of Trappist 1 is dead. So the baby inherited. When the station awakens, I'm assuming it was at the event because it's showing him as well, and he's got kind of negative stuff going on. When the station awakens, it is with screams. Baroness Gail Morris was discovered this morning, her throat cut. The killer must have murdered her in the night. Who could have done this? A very hard secret has been created. So change the rule, changed the line of succession, changing that kind of stuff. Yeah, I wonder who did that. The feast in honor of Duke Porter Harrington was ruined, and the guests depart with a heavy heart. So that's kind of the risk. You can host these events to honor somebody, but weird things can happen sometimes. Baroness Sonora Martinez has surrendered her faction to Duchess Ina McGrath. Okay. So the Martinez group down here are now part of the McGrath Union, making them stronger. So she'll still be probably in charge. Yeah, she's still in charge of Theta Centauri. So that does get rid of another vassal. Duchess Ina McGrath charged you with avenging Duchess Jada Yang's crime, the rebellion against Archon Tali Acosta. So yeah, they were part of that group at the same time before too. You're honor bound to punish her. Yeah. I'm not interested in doing anything about that. I don't know why she's so hardcore on that. Like, that union doesn't even exist anymore. Duke Gardner Cardenas wants marriage between Archon Vlad Dracul, so me, and 17-year-old member of your family. What will you ask in return? Yeah, I don't really have any interest in marrying a 17-year-old. I mean, I'd get her. She'd add to my family. Is she worth it? Like, she's an okay diplomat, but I have plenty of diplomats. Yeah, I'm not interested. So, Baron Mark Burnett, who I did have some conflict with in the past, wants marriage between me and Tallulah Evans. At least she's closer in age to me, at 46, and I'm 57 or something, I think. She's pretty good at spying. So he wants to sort of be a little closer to me in relationship. He's distantly related to me. She's not terrible. I don't know if I have other people who are good at spying that well. I might be able to marry somebody in the Yang clan or the Yang sector to get them on board if I'm free. So I'm going to refuse. Just so I still have that option available potentially. Your brother-in-law has changed the order of succession for Z Puppis. Baron Consort Stormy Dunlap is now his heir. So my wife's niece, whereas this is my brother-in-law. So his daughter. So she's married to the ruler. No, you're not. Baron Consort Stormy Dunlap. So basically went from him being the heir, he's not really that great except for tech, and then swapping to another relative. So sort of a bit of a faux pas there, breaking agreements. Baron Amil King gave submission to Duke Porter Harrington in return for 240 bucks, space bucks. So the King Dominion has joined the Bates clan. So that works too. I was thinking about like them joining the Keith Alliance, but in exchange for a bunch of money, joined the Bates clan. So actually the Bates clan is the strongest of the various different factions inside, and then second would be the Benjamin Guild. But either way, it's sort of resolving my too many vassals situation for me. So that's fine. Marley Dracul is asking for permission to try for another child with your nephew. Sure. We actually are. We can check and see how we are doing on that. So we're at 23 out of 32. So yeah, sure. Go ahead. If you want, go for it. So we granted permission for them to have another child. Archon Milan Murphy failed to avenge Jin Murphy's crime, the murder of Duke Eli Nixon. So he was in charge of the Nixon alliance before everything kind of fell apart, before they became part of what was like the Cardenas, or Acosta. No, Cardenas are over here. The Acosta alliance that was in the middle here that I kind of ate. There was sort of the Nixon alliance down here before from the first video. Okay, so we're a little better. We're only one over our vassal limit now. So because of my happiness being down, we have less actions. I've got too many vassals, so that's also going down. Is there anything crazy? So yeah, we're now at 39 systems, so we need 19 more. So let's just take a look. Pia Dracul became outrageously drunk during the festival, so that's my nephew's wife. Oh, right, she's just up there, probably improving relations. Porter Harrington levying to fine against somebody, sure. Levying to fine against somebody, sure. How are things up here? Pretty good. So we're actually like, so my guys are actually quelling unrest in some of my vassals' territory. So that will help if I'm quelling unrest on one of their territories. So say like Bunda over here, I'm quelling unrest. The local ruler really appreciates that and likes it. Once I have it started, it doesn't cost me any action points to continue. So that local ruler really likes it. If I'm doing it on the capital, so like here, I'm actually doing it on the capital of the Bates clan, that is also improving relations with the entire Bates clan because I'm helping them keep their capital from rebelling against them. So that's something else you can kind of do if they have high unrest, keeping that under control. So I'm doing a lot of things to help my vassals. We've been building a lot of stuff as well. I'd really like to build up on Okol, that carrier that we picked up, but I do kind of want to ask, let me at least look and see. If I ask what it would say. May accept if you ask politely. I could wait and keep letting the opinion go up, but I'm getting older. I mean, I'm not super old. I'm not even 60 yet, right? 58, yeah. Not even 60 yet, so I could probably hold off for a bit. We've got more plague spreading. So I could just kind of let it roll and then do something about that later. That's probably what I'll do, and I'll just worry about like building stuff. Convict ship is done. Yeah, so we've done a pretty good job. So we still have the ability. We've lost a couple vassals, so that's helped. Things have consolidated a bit. The Keith Alliance has a claim on Alnalam. We could try to push that eventually, once I kind of have things under control. And then we also have the claim on Ross 128. There's a raid there, so probably local defenses aren't that great. We can even look and see what your fleet capacity is. So your fleet is currently at 6 out of 30. Cheney Systems, 79. Bates Clan, only 43. We probably have to build up the Bates Clan fleet before we would do that, though. So we could send somebody dispatched to rebuild his fleet up there, which just kind of mean that their replenishment goes up for a while. So I'm not going to push this. The Murphy Planets is looking a little small. I could even try to go like, hey, Murphy Planets, do you all want to join? What are the chances? Actually, we can't, it looks like. because we're not connected. Yeah, we don't border each other. So that's the thing too, is my actual territory has to border these guys' territory to do that. I could ask these guys though. So the Compton Alliance as a whole. I can ask them. They'll refuse if I ask or demand, either way. But yeah, we could make a claim just on that one planet. Once we do that, it would just weaken them a lot. It'd be a lot easier to sort of mop up. Yeah, definitely doing pretty well though. We're making progress. Kind of have these giant alliances. If I can get the Yang sector in, I'm worried like they might jump to somebody else if I don't do something soon. I was attacked at Glias 754. Glias 754. Isn't that up here? Oh, it's there. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be attacked by these guys. It'd be highly unlikely. It's possible the Tapia planets might be at war with like the Acosta territories directly. That kind of stuff can happen. And I could lose a territory over like little scuffling between vassals. But yeah, we've got pretty good alliances. We're pretty good opinion of everybody else. If we can eat the Yang sector and get them to join, we're going to be in really, really good shape. 39. They've got how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. So get me to 43. I'd still need 15 more. That's a lot. I might need to eat like the Murphy planets as well, as a whole. I don't really want to go to war with the Atkinsons. We can try to just eat away a little bit here and there. That's probably what I'll have to do. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen once my heir takes over. But I think that's a good place to stop. Not sure if I'll actually do more videos on this. Not sure if people are interested. But yeah, we've done a really good job spreading and taking over territory. But a lot of that is just up to Vlad himself. Vlad's been a great ruler. I'm really worried about what's going to happen when he dies because our heir kind of sucks. Once you are heir, you do get a lot more skills and stuff, and we can do more training to improve the new heir. Not sure how that's going to go. Anyway, this has been more of Star Dynasties. I've been Disturbing Puppet. Thanks for coming by. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Until then, have a good one.